Coming up today on That LTD Life, I'm going to be checking out MySignature. This is an email signature building tool, currently just a one-time fee at AppSumo. You can get in the door as low as just $39. However, I think most people are probably going to want to spend just a bit more here. Let's check out the plan details. Tier 1, $39 does give you 10 signatures, but look at all of these red X's. Who wants all of those red X's? Not me. So go up to tier 2, spend $100, and then you get almost all of the features. The only thing you'll miss out on is unlimited workspaces. So if you want to use this for client accounts or for some reason that certain signatures can't see other signatures, well, you'll definitely want to add in unlimited workspaces. So now we're up to $150 for an email signature tool. It's getting a little bit spendy, and you can go even spendier than that. If you want to spend $300, you get a total of 250 signatures. To make this video, I purchased tier 2. That means I can show you all of the features except for the workspaces. All right, enough talk. Let's get over to the tool. All right, so this is MySignature. I'm actually going through the onboarding right now. It asked me for my information. It looks like it's building out a signature, so I figured I'd hit record and show you what this looks like. Basically asking for some, normal information like your name, your company name, your position, and then to upload a logo. I can also toggle on some social media networks if I want to share like my X account or my YouTube account. That's the two that I chose, but I could also do Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if I want as well. A little disappointing to me is that they don't actually pull in your website's design to give you the colors. In fact, it just says yourwebsite.com over here, and I don't see a field for that. So hopefully that's going to be updatable shortly here. I can't imagine it's not, but it'd be really nice if the color palette could be pulled in from the website. So we'll see if that's adjustable, but for now, let me go ahead and maybe make the color palette be a little bit more on brand. All right, so I changed my theme color here. There's a whole bunch of other colors that I don't really understand how this is supposed to be working, but as I click on it, they're changing over here, but this theme color never actually updates. So yeah, a little confused by that. So anyway, I'm gonna stick with my theme color being this nearly black color, and we'll proceed to the next section. Now it's asking for a professional headshot. Well, my headshot will have to do. Let's go ahead and upload it. I can crop this if I'd like, but I'm just gonna do full width here. Proceed to the next section. And it says generating professional headshot styles. All right, so kind of fun here. It's given me a few different options. It's using that theme color that I chose as the background. So you can see there is a nearly black circle here, but I could choose a different theme color and it kind of updates my photos. I think that's fun and looks pretty good, particularly this one with a little bit of a shadow on the side. I think that looks really nice. Yeah, so cool. We can go ahead and choose which one we want. You can see there's a little background shadow for the selection. Maybe I'll go with this one. It looks pretty good. And I'll even use their little red color. I don't know if that's going to affect the rest of my signature, but we'll find out momentarily. All right, I'm trying to proceed to the next screen, but it's not letting me through. I just choose next and nothing's happening. All right, I just hopped over to Chrome and logged into MySignature, and it's actually taken me back to the exact step that I was on, which is quite nice. So I can go ahead and choose the image that I want, and let's try it here inside of Chrome. I was in Safari before for reference, and let's see if it advances me this time. Yep, so now it's actually moved me to the next screen. Whereas back over in Safari, I'm still waiting. So definitely don't use this tool without using Chrome, essentially is a lesson that I have learned. So on this screen, it wants a few more details as it says, how do you plan on using MySignature? Well, I'm gonna use it for my company. So my agency would be like if you had clients, right? But we're just gonna be using it internally. We have just a small team of 5 people, and we're gonna be using this with, let's say, I don't know, how about other? And we'll submit. I say other because we don't use any of the major email providers, but some people are going to be logging in through their Android phone. Some people are going to be logging in through their iOS device, whatever it is. So other seems like the most universal fit. Now we've got some different templates to choose from. So that's good. That means that the template that it was building for me during the onboarding is not what I'm going to be stuck with. These look pretty nice. Now, I have to say that I am not a huge fan of having your photo attached to every single email that you send. It tends to be a little bit overwhelming, especially if there are long reply threads. So make sure you're being conscious of that and maybe toggle it off, toggle the signature off after that initial email. So someone doesn't load up the email and have 500 different pictures of you. That can be a little bit annoying from my point of view. And honestly, it looks unprofessional, kind of the opposite of what most people are going through. I'm scrolling through the different templates as I'm talking, and I think they all look fairly nice though. We do have some plain text ones. Those stand out to me. That's kind of what I prefer. Here's another one. But in the interest of what I think most people probably like, I'll choose maybe a more trendy kind of stylized design. Let's go back up to the top. I think most of the nice looking ones were up here at the top. This to me is just too long, but you know what? This one looks pretty good. I'll go with that. So I just clicked use template, and now I've got all of the information over here. I could set a department. Let's say content creation was my department, and it shows up right over here. I can enter in my phone number, and then it displays right above my email. Yeah, it's interesting that it actually replaced my company name with Thompson Group, and I'm not sure why it did that, but let me go ahead and just add in our company name here. So Managing Director at ClientAmp. We can enter in our address if we like, but I'm going to take that off. We're not really an in-person type of business. I can enter my website here, which is quite nice. I do want to have that. And then we've got our social links. So yeah, I'm confused why I had to do that in the onboarding. It does show YouTube and X here like I wanted, but it didn't ever ask me for those during the onboarding. So a little bit of a wasted step, in my opinion. It could be essentially done gathering this information by this point. All right, I've got my social links added in. Another sticking point in terms of the UI is that even though I've entered in YouTube and Facebook here, I'm just assuming they're going in this order. If I remove this, you can see, oh, here it does say YouTube, but before it didn't. It actually had a placeholder. So that is more helpful. Actually, I put in Facebook rather than YouTube. So let's see, if I remove this, I can add another one in. I'll do Facebook since I already have the URL up, and now I've got YouTube and Facebook. Okay, perfect. I can also add in a footer here, like contact me for tips on how to grow your ROAS, or whatever it is that you specialize in, you can have show up at the bottom of every single email. So this is light mode. We can also preview it in dark mode. It looks pretty good. If I want to change my template later on, I'm not stuck with this. I can easily go back into the picker and choose a different one. They are categorized, by the way, so I can do minimal templates, creative templates, formal, text only. Really nice to have that sorting available. I appreciate that. Here's promotional. So it's got things like, Merry Christmas or new courses, maybe a little banner there to promote your latest product. But for now, I'm good with this. If I wanted to get this loaded into my email, I just click right over here, get signature, and it's going to give me the code that I could add to virtually any email tool. I can download the HTML, I can copy the signature, or even just send the signature off via email so that it can be installed later on. If you're using one of the major email platforms, they do have integrations right here. It's worth noting that if you get AppSumo's tier 2 and above, you'll get direct installation to Google Workspace. So if you're using this for a large company and you're all on Google Workspace, well, it'll be very simple to install. Now, there are a few more features here that we have not checked out. So we've been inside of this information section. If I go backwards, there's the headshot editor. This was basically generated for us as we went through the onboarding process, but I can go down to the design section and maybe refine the template a little bit. Right now it's using this icon type of letter, but maybe I want it to be rounded. Well, here we go. Now I've got some more rounded objects added into my signature. And if I want my social media to be different than these icons, I could choose square for them, or maybe word so that they're just written out. I don't really prefer that, but if you do, you do you. So let's go ahead and leave everything rounded. We can see some of the other features, setting the font. Now, this is a bit of a hairy situation because there's only a few fonts that are going to be email safe. So if you've got your own branded font that you like to use for all of your company interactions, you'll have to choose one of their fonts. You're not going to be able to upload your own just because email does not support as many fonts or even custom fonts that you can maybe add in through something like a website. They're not the same system, even though they appear like on the surface, they probably are. They're definitely different. So here are the different fonts that are available: Courier, Tahoma, Trebuchet. So yeah, pick one of the available fonts and go with that. I would look at whatever you're using currently to write your emails and probably just match it to that. It's probably the safest bet. We can change the font size. I wouldn't go too crazy with this, but definitely make it so that it's readable. You can make your name a little bit bigger if you prefer. So here's 18 for the name and 16 for the font. I definitely wouldn't recommend going quite this large, but you can see what it looks like. You can set the width of your signature right here. I don't think that's going to be a problem for most people, but definitely don't go over 600, although it looks like it's hard coded to that. And you can set the footer width right here. And as I scale this down, we probably will actually see the footer. Yeah, there we go. I can get it to shrink down. So that's the footer section right here. And then the whole signature would be this width, which I mean, honestly, it doesn't want to get as small as I've set it. So it must be kind of have a hard-coded minimum as well. If you notice, there is a find your home button down here. This is the call to action. So we could add in our promotional banner, whatever we like here. I can change this text. So here's a call to action, find your tech stack, and then I can have it link over to our website. If I go too long with this, it actually doesn't shrink the text. It ends up just going to a second line. So here is some second line text, and you can see how that just spills over and makes the button kind of big. Now it'd be nice to maybe center align this if you did have, for some reason, I don't recommend this, but if your call to action was extra long, it'd be nice to center align this, but I don't see any way to do that. So just keep in mind that you definitely want to keep this to probably a maximum of like 10 to 15 characters. If you delete the call to action, by the way, it goes away completely. So if you're thinking, I like this template, but I definitely don't want a button on my signature, no problem, just go ahead and remove it. If you want to upload a banner image, you can do that right here. We saw that in some of the templates. We can also add in a social banner if you want to link up or display, more of an advertising type of graphic instead of having the social media icons. You could definitely do that. So here is what that would look like inside of the signature. And we can also add in a sign off, like maybe you end all of your emails best, comma, well, there you go. You can have it automatically added in and then your signature displays below. I don't personally like that very much because it's kind of weird to not then type your name and just go right into the signature, but it is an option. So I wanted to show you that it exists. And the final section is analytics. So that means it's going to be doing some click tracking on your signature. Who's clicking the links? Where are they going? What type of devices are they on? You can see the different analytics that are available here. Total number of clicks, region, browser that they're using. So Chrome, Safari, so on and so forth. Operating system, and then we've got device and region again. So I'm a little confused. Oh, it looks like it's going to give us, here's a map of the region where they're clicking from. And then we'll probably get some percentages down here. What country they came from, and what percentage of the visit is responsible for clicks from that region. All right, I'm going to show you how to install this into the email client that I use, which is just boring old Apple Mail. So in order to do this, we need to be inside of the editor and on the information section right here. From here, we'll click on Get Signature, just like we did before, and then I'm going to copy the signature. Now, before I proceed, I'm going to mention that any of the other tools that you might want to put this in have specific instructions down here. So definitely read this before just guessing what to do. It'll save yourself a lot of time. So for example, I'm using Apple Mail or Mac OS Mail. So it's got a few important boxes here, like ensure that always match my default font is unchecked. And it says, try toggling place signature above quoted text. And another important thing is to make sure that the images up here, I need to go into the privacy settings and ensure that block all remote content is unchecked. So some very critical things here to do on my email client. And I'm sure there's going to be idiosyncrasies on just about every client in order to get these to display properly. But I digress. So let's head over to Apple Mail and I'll show you how to get this set up. And in order to add a signature, I'm going to open up these settings. There's a key command for this. I'll go ahead and press Command, comma, and here we go. I'm inside of the settings. Now, you might start off over in the general section. Just go over to the signatures tab. Next, you're going to need to add in a signature. I'll click the plus button right here, give it a name, call it something like MySignature, and then I can paste in the signature that I copied a moment ago right over here. But before I do that, I have to turn off the always match my default font. That way the actual formatting will come in. I'll paste it in and there we go. Notice that none of my images are loading. That is okay right now. Now, next I want to drag my signature over to the account I wish to use it with. So I'm going to drag it over to Client Amp right here and I'm almost done. I just need to check over on the privacy tab to make sure that I don't have block all remote content checked. Right now I don't, so I believe I should be good to go. Now, when creating a new email, as long as I am sending from my Client Amp account, I have the option to choose my signature over here. Definitely give it a more descriptive name. I can click on this and there we go. Everything is pulling in. It looks pretty good. Very, very simple to set up and install. Remember, I changed all of the fonts to be quite big. So if you're looking at that and saying, gosh, that looks huge, It is. I set it to be, I think, size 18 for my name and 16 for everything else. Make it smaller. It'll definitely be appreciated by the people you're sending emails to. All right, so that's essentially it for creating your own signature. But let's see what other features are available inside of the platform. So I'm back on the main menu here and I can see my signatures. I could add in an additional one by just clicking on the plus icon, give that signature a name, and then start this process all over again. But I don't want two signatures for myself. However, I do want to invite my team to utilize the tool. So I can do that right over here where it says teammates. I can add a teammate by just clicking on the plus button, entering their information in manually, or I could import my teammates via a CSV file. You can even sync up your Google Workspace account by just clicking on the Sync with Google button. This will save a ton of time. There is a direct integration with Google Workspace right over here, so definitely go ahead and get that set up. If you use Google Workspace, as I already mentioned, it will be extremely beneficial to the amount of time you're spending setting up these signatures. Now, we saw analytics before for a single signature, but we can also get account-wide analytics right on this main screen and then going down to the analytics section. Now, notice that I don't have any analytics yet because I've just set up my account, but that definitely would be beneficial to see everything all under one hood. And the last two things we have to talk about are the templates and groups, and these kind of go hand in hand. So a template is going to be, the signature that you'd want everybody in your company to use. So I could go into templates here, click the plus button, and then just import it from the signature that I just created from myself. Or I could build a brand new one if I wanted to as well. So I'll just call this the client AMP signature and import it. And I can choose exactly what I want to import. I'll just go ahead and say to import everything. And now I've created my very own template that I can reuse on other accounts. Now, this works hand in hand with something called groups, as you'll see here in a moment. If I go over to groups and I look at the default group they've created, although I could add my own, I can set up a template for everyone in this group. So maybe it's going to be my client AMP signature template. I will choose that. And now everybody that gets added to this group will automatically get this template. That'll make adding new signatures or just getting the, people to actually utilize the tool to happen a lot quicker. So you can see right here is the teammate list. So after someone joins your team, you can go over to groups and add them to a specific group. So maybe you have one for sales and one for support, and you want to customize the overall signature appearance based on the department they're in. Well, that's how you can do it and make sure that everyone stays on brand and inside of their own department. Really nice touch. I like this part of the tool. So heading back over to AppSumo, let's just go through the feature list here. Hopefully now you understand everything that's included and you can better choose which plan you actually want. So we saw the pre-designed team templates, right? So you only get that if you're on tier 2. You don't get it on tier 1. The auto install for Google Workspace, I have mentioned that several times in the video. We've got the advanced signature editor. I think we're going to be stuck with that more simple one that you saw at the beginning of the video if you don't go up to tier 2. So we're not going to have things like the call to action and maybe all of the different social buttons. Those won't show up if you're on tier 1. And just looking through the list of features here, it's honestly going to take a long time to go through every single one. But the main things that you're going to want is to be able to set a user as an administrator. Let's say you want to delegate the signature creation process. Again, tier 2. Department signatures. So that's going to be things like groups. That's going to be tier 2. Yeah, overall, it just makes a lot of sense to go up to tier 2. And of course, if your company has more than 30 people, then just choose the according plan, 100 or 250. Now, before I give this thing a final score, I'm going to mention that sometime in the last 6 months or so, I did review MySignature, a competing tool also on AppSumo. I do think that I liked Sync Signature better than MySignature. MySignature was good, but it just had a lot of kind of back and forth. The user interface wasn't as clean and professional as Sync Signature feels, although Sync Signature is a little bit more difficult to say. Overall, I think people that are using Google Workspace for a slightly larger company, maybe anywhere from 10 or more employees, I think you're going to benefit a lot from using Sync Signature, where you'll give a cohesive feel to everybody inside of your company with very little issues in terms of getting the tech actually installed, thanks to the great integration. Everybody else, it might be a little bit of overkill to have your photo, like I've already mentioned in this video, in every single email that you send. But I could see setting it up once and, like I mentioned before, toggling it off after that initial reply. That is the way to go with email signatures. I'm not a huge fan of this space of tool, to be totally honest. I don't think they're necessary. I don't have one personally, but if you want one because you feel like it's required in your line of work, well, I definitely get that. Certain things like customer service, it is nice to see a face. So there is definitely a use case here. I'm going to go ahead and give Sync Signature a 7.6 out of 10. It's a really good tool, just maybe not for me personally. If you want to grab a copy of Sync Signature or anything else over at AppSumo, make sure you click the link in the description. It helps support this channel so I can make more LTD reviews like this one. If you've got any questions about Sync Signature or any other LTDs in general, definitely hit me up in the comments. I will be back again tomorrow with some more LTD content. Get subscribed if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next review.